All right. So we're here at Wildevision, and I've got Julian Wilde and Shawna Colton here with me. Thank you for having us here. I appreciate this. You, ruby slippers, this is all set up for today's shoot, right?
Well, we do leave the ruby slippers there, and Shawna knows why. Shawna, do you know why the ruby slippers are there?
They're for you to wear.
Have you worn those?
Probably.
Yeah.
I apparently have not told Shawna the story.
No.
The ruby slippers to remind us all that we're not in Kansas anymore.
This is true. We're not in Kansas.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
No. So this is a palatial.
Anything goes.
This is the palace. We're in Italy right now, right?
Yeah.
So
this is the mansion on the hill beyond the orange and the olive groves.
Lake Marco is down below, right? Yeah.
George Clooney is down the hill.
Yeah. Downtown Julie Brown lives there too, right on the lake.
Is that right?
Yeah. Wow. So typically we do the show live, but we're doing something special. We want to make sure that we have this recording because if we go live, there may be some wardrobe malfunctions, so we can't have that on YouTube. So, right?
Well, there is that, but we also ideally would like to be able to insert photographs to kind of show what we're talking about.
Now, speaking of photographs, all right, so you've got...
Because I'm a photographer.
Julian is a photographer, world-famous photographer, and she's a model.
I do that.
Yes. Even without being instructed, Shawna had poses. There's no way for her to stand without modeling. This is good.
That's true.
Is that what happens at work, too?
Sometimes.
Look at this.
Somebody shoot me.
I'd love to know a little bit about the difference in your direction. You started off just shooting photography here, but now you're moving into a multimedia realm, right? So the Wildevision Collections is something special and new. Do you want to touch on that now, or you want to get into it in a little bit?
That's the $64,000 question.
All right.
I mean, honestly.
Well, let's go back a little bit.
Yeah, we can back off because there are some things that that would be premature to talk about it too much.
Premature is my middle name. All right. All right. So we're back here at Wildevision. Julian is. You want to talk a little bit about your history? You want to maybe say like where you got your inspiration, especially your artistic inspiration. I know
things started pretty fast for me when I was in college. My first year in college, I discovered girls. And hadn't quite really discovered that before. So that was a whole foreign thing that I discovered.
And where was this?
Rutgers College.
Okay.
About 30 minutes out of New York.
Yeah.
So that gave me kind of school and entertainment. But I had gone through, I haven't gone through this stuff, but I had gone through an English major.
Okay.
I started with an economics major.
Smart. Yeah.
What was I thinking?
It would help now.
Yeah. And went through international affairs, art history, ended up getting very serious with architecture. And at the point where I was studying architecture, that's where I really kind of discovered girls and ended up having a girlfriend who was a ramp model for Black Glamour Furs in New York. And she got me into one of her shows. And I saw those girls coming down the ramp, and I realized that's what I want to do.
Really?
Yeah, I just kind of, and the true story is I never really went back to school. I stopped going to classes.
Okay.
She bought me a camera. I started shooting her and her $400 an hour friends. At that time, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I got a book together really quickly, almost like effortlessly, because the girls were gorgeous. And so when I went back to Seattle and showed that to the Seattle Models Guild, they sent me people hand over fist. And
so how did you know these people in Seattle? Did you have contacts there already?
My family had real estate concerns in that area, and so that's why I went back there.
Okay.
But I decided to show my book for the first time at the top agency in the Northwest, which is the Seattle Models Guild. And like I said, there was no going back. I was making so much money as a 23-year-old that any other avenue of employment would have been a huge step back.
What a nice 23-year-old gig.
I just kept shooting and never stopped. And I never imagined that I would stop. And here it is 1,000 years later.
Right.
And still having the time of my life doing the thing that I love to do.
So Seattle was kind of home for you then.
Yeah, and I had a studio in Seattle. I had a couple of studios in Seattle. I had a studio in Seattle and one in San Francisco. And I would work both of those cities for years. And but the reason I'm in Portland why are you in Portland, Julian? What's the story there?
Well, I thought we were in Italy, but that's fine. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I was going to say, the paparazzi's flying over.
The deal is that Portland had one of the most important, you don't know this, one of the most important modeling agencies, maybe even on the planet, because of Jansen and Speedo.
Okay.
Jansen and Speedo were the only ones making swimwear.
Right.
At that point. And the top models in town, some of the best body models, were actually stationed out of Portland. And the agency here in Portland would send them up to me to shoot with me in Seattle. And at a certain point, I went, man, this is kind of cool. I see that there's a lot of talent in Portland. So I came down to Portland basically to kind of follow all of those models that they were sending me.
Interesting. Then,
that's why I'm here.
And the architecture background, obviously, I mean, we're looking at the set here. I've been here once before.
Right.
It was completely different, right? So when you're setting up and staging something like this, how much is involved in sort of designing a set? And do you have the models take place in this, or is this all your vision?
I don't think I told you this part when we met last.
It's good to just be spontaneous.
But just be spontaneous.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be spontaneous.
Yeah.
The guy who, I kind of have to back up, I talked about discovering girls. Well, at about that same time, I was walking through the student bookstore, and I picked up a copy of Helmut Newton's.
Right.
It was actually White Women.
Okay.
And I picked up White Women, I opened it up, and flip, and I saw this picture of Charlotte Rampling. Charlotte Rampling, who was the it girl in Hollywood at that moment. What are we talking, mid to late 70s. And Helmut Newton had shot a picture of her sitting on a dining room table in this, obviously a European high-end suite.
Okay.
And behind her is this beautiful, big, hand-carved mirror. And she's sitting nude on this table with this tumbler glass in her hand, looking over her shoulder at the camera. And that's when I decided that's what I want to do. But that kind of old world European influence, that was my springboard. And I still love that look.
There is definitely, I can see that style and everything that you shoot.
That's the thing that I love to do.
Yeah.
And when people, ask me or they tell me about, you should go here or you should go there to shoot this, it's not this.
Right.
And this is what I love to do. This is the look. This is my brand.
It really is the Julian Wilde brand. I don't know that I've seen anything that has this elegance. There's this opulence and this dignity. This it's regal. You know,
I like it to look like. I had a girl in here the other day, and I almost slapped her. She said, "It's like an artist's loft." I'm going, no, it's not an artist's loft. We're in a hotel lobby, honey, and it's a nice hotel.
Yeah.
It's $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
So I build it so that it has a certain flavor to
right.
it, and that's what I'm comfortable with, and that's what I like to do. And I don't stray from it very often.
Well, even because you've moved locations as well, right? But
3 studios ago, people that were friends of mine 3 studios ago, when I had a 10,000 square foot studio, and even the other one, which was a 5,000 square foot studio, they think I'm still there because all the feeling is the same.
Right.
And I have to say, no, I've moved.
It's incredible, honestly, that you've kept this. When you look around the room, everything that's in here is staged, even if it's not for a shot. You've got these like beautiful umbrella lights, and you've got all this gorgeous thing, the armoires and these like chandeliers. Everything in here looks like.
Someday we're going to do a tour. I haven't done that yet. If you can believe that, I haven't done a walking tour of this place. But unless you could see it, kind of how this connects to that, and the VIP suite connects to the makeup bar. Unless you see that, you'd never be able to figure it out.
Well,
pictures.
It has to be shot individually, right? Yeah. So if you're coming and you're touring Wildevision right now, and you would walk in, you wouldn't understand the continuity between these different phases or these different stages. But when you look at the photography, every collection that I've seen, so Shawna will be. In fact, there was an after party shot that you had the other day, right? So there's a picture where you were.
That was all Shawna.
Yeah,
tipped over chair.
The
tipped over chair.
After party.
I know. That's. I said it looked just like an after a Flock of Seagulls show, right? So it was heels, stockings and Shawna. I
all
think
you
of
need.
yep. I remember that. But I like when you put something like that together, you can take something that it doesn't look like a party phase because it looks like you had this incredible castle, this palace, and then Shawna just took over, right? So nobody else really has the opportunity to shoot something like that because they haven't decorated the stage. I was getting the architectural background, so you had the background, the interest in architecture. You brought that in here. When you're putting something like this together, it's not like you can go to eBay and buy these kinds of things. Are you making these sets for the most part?
It's like pieces of a puzzle. Raven actually sources pretty much everything.
Raven's your wife?
Yes.
All
Raven finds it.
Okay.
And then it's my job to make it fit.
Okay.
In this, so that in every square inch of this place matters. There's not a wasted square foot.
Yeah, no, it's
anywhere,
But it doesn't feel cluttered. It feels,
the fact that it has high ceilings is actually part of my secret weapon. It's got a 24-foot ceiling, so when people see that, their first question is, how big is it?
Yeah.
But it's got a high ceiling, so that's it's a nice thing to have.
It looks like a castle in here. It looks like a palace. So maybe walk me through a little bit of this process. Now you've moved to Portland. You've had access to wonderful models. You had a relationship with the swimwear companies, right? So
as soon as I moved here, almost that day, they went to San Francisco.
Really? All right.
Almost that day. I was like, wait, guys, I moved down here for you,
Yeah.
And they're now in San Francisco.
And that was
and I'm
80s?
Pardon me?
This is in the 80s now then? Was that about then? 80s and 1980s?
Yeah, late 80s.
Okay, so...
Yeah, my brain doesn't even go back that far.
Well,
it was the late 80s.
I'm just wondering how the industry changed between then and now. For you, anyway.
It's such a whole different ballgame. It's not even the same animal
anymore.
Okay. There's no comparison. I couldn't compare this industry in the 80s and the 70s. Well, certainly not the 70s, but in the 80s to the way it is now. I would have a hard time thinking what things are the same.
Well, 2020, Julian, if you were to go back to the 80s and say, hey, new photographer or photographer in your younger years, here's what to expect. Would you have stayed in the business this way or would you adapt?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Back in the 80s, if one of my friends or somebody approached me and said, I really want to get into photography. I want to do what you do.
Yeah.
I might have said, go for it. I recently had one of my fans on Facebook, private messaged me and said, I'm willing to learn the fine art of shooting people. He was telling me that I'm willing to learn that from you. That he was willing to learn it. And I thought, I actually messaged him back and I'll tell him what I said. And usually I'd said, great, and shine him on. But I said, if you want to be good, you've got to have a passion for this.
Right.
If you want to be really good, if you want to be successful, you've got to have a hunger for this.
Yeah.
You've got to have a fire in your belly. And if you don't have a fire in your belly for this, it'll never happen for you.
Okay, so...
And that's what I told him. I said, you're lackadaisical. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
But his lackadaisical, I'm willing to learn.
Yeah.
Is not going to take you there. You're not going to get there from willing to learn.
And that's ignorance, right?
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people might...
You've got to have a fire in your belly or you won't make it.
I would take that same question and I put it to you. Shawna, I've seen a lot of your work that's been done by Julian.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a chemistry. You guys have some sort of unspoken language when you're shooting. And I haven't witnessed the actual shots, but you see the end result. And I think, how is it different now? Like if you were to go back and talk to another model that wanted to get into it and they said, hey, I want to shoot and look the way you do.
Okay.
Yeah. So what would your advice be?
To a brand new model?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Wow. I actually get asked this question a lot just at work.
I'll bet.
At the gym. I just tell them, if that's what they want to do, just do it. Just be cautious, be careful, be confident. I honestly don't shoot this way with anybody but Julian.
Okay.
So I would recommend them to work with Julian before anybody else. But
So you mentioned.
Can we do plugs like that?
Yeah, well,
Right?
no, absolutely.
Plug.
I'm not paid to say this.
Raven's here.
Raven is here.
Yay.
She'll probably hide for a minute.
Hi, Raven. It's good to see you again.
Raven came by because she wants to shoot the shot.
That's right. We're gonna get you on camera this time. No, so you mentioned being careful. So new models that come in, they may be kind of oblivious to the fact that there are not models that are trustworthy and respectful and decent like Julian. So did you have some kind of sketchy situations early on as a model?
I did. I'm sure that you could probably get that same story from millions of girls.
Okay.
It's just kind of part of the process of just getting into it, unfortunately. I was lucky enough to be with an agency beforehand, so
Okay.
I was kind of taken care of. But I know a lot of women who are not as lucky, they will just go work with anybody, and I don't recommend that.
Okay. So new models come in, say, if you can't get representation from an agency, bring somebody with you, make
Of
sure
course,
you,
an escort. Yeah. If they don't allow an escort, that's a flag number one.
Sure. Okay. Now tell me about the relationship that you guys had. You worked together 8 years. So
It's been that long. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm old.
yeah, yeah.
I was doing the math, but I was thinking you must have been a girl when
Yeah,
I
No,
first met you.
I'm going to be 40 in a few
Oh,
years.
no.
That is, and you
I
have
didn't
worked.
know that.
You have worked with like teenage models in a really respectful way.
Oh, sure, I do. I do all the time.
and-
A lot of people don't think that I shoot underage girls,
Right.
but I shoot underage girls in an age-appropriate manner.
Right.
You know,
Right.
There are things that somebody who's been doing this for 8 years that are appropriate.
Sure.
That for a 19-year-old girl, it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's legal; it's still not appropriate. You know,
I think that's important to note.
yeah.
Because there's a lot of respect that goes in between the photographer and the model and your audience, understanding your audience, because I think people might see like an attractive boudoir shot and think, oh, this is real racy and less about the artistry and more about the eroticism, And so thinking about the younger models who really want to get into this because they want to be feel attractive and they feel like they have something that it would take to be a model, but feel like they have to be pressured into doing something that inappropriate at an early age. I think it's great that you respect them enough, you talk to them about it, coach them. I don't know if you do some of that, but I know it's not your job to be a mentor for some of these people, but they're fortunate to get to come to you, having worked with so many different ages and know what your end result is. Because you've got a vision, right? When you're shooting this stuff, I don't know about like the particular shots, but we talked about the shot the other day with Shawna, right? So there's the after party shot, or so the chair's tipped over. Shawna's
But see, what you don't know, you don't know.
We didn't plan any of that.
What you would never know
It was never planned.
I told you is that no, we don't plan any of it.
Amazing.
And Shawna knows that. 8 years, I've never planned a single shot.
Really?
Yeah.
I show
And
up
usually-
blind. Yeah.
And usually, if I do have a plan, Shawna knows for damn sure I'm not going to do that.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Because I'm bored with the idea, and I don't even want to be caught walking through the motions.
Yeah.
So I won't even do it.
So
Because I've already done it in my head.
It feels contrived that way.
So basically, what we do, and I even do this with Shawna, she knows how it is. The drill is we come in, we sit down,
Yeah.
and we catch up. We talk for about 10 minutes, and we just kind of shoot it. And while that tape is rolling, I'm getting visions.
Yeah.
I'm getting a feeling. I'm getting kind of a gestalt of energy that I feel good about.
Mhm.
And that way, when we launch into what we are doing, I'm respecting our energy in the moment.
Cool.
Not the way it was last week, and not the way it was a year ago, but how we are feeling right now.
That's-
What do we feel like doing?
Wow.
You know? And that is not something that I would recommend to anyone in the industry, because that could be a disaster.
Sure. Well, that's
For me, for some reason, for 30 years, that has worked for me. You
That's
know,
a
being
lot of trust.
spontaneous.
It's
Between-
always spontaneous.
So does it feel the same way with you when you're doing the shoots? Do you feel this sort of surge of energy where you think, "Oh my gosh, that was the shot"? I can totally tell by the
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel a mood and an energy and what I'm supposed to project, and it's
But she's been around
concentration.
long enough to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Shawna never, ever has ever asked me, Julian, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
other models do that, and it just reminds me, you don't know how we work.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Shawna never asked me what we're going to do. She just shows up, ready to play ball.
But I know what his expectations are.
Yeah.
So after so many years, I know what he's looking for, and you just dial into that, and it just happens.
Tell me about your favorite experience, favorite shoot. Is there one that stands out?
Honestly, it's probably my very, very first shoot here.
Okay.
Because
was it here or the other
it was
studio?
at the other studio, but it was with Ugo. It was the first time ever. I mean, I was visiting Disneyland at that point. I walked into a studio that was room upon room of different.
That was 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
It was.
So
it
anyway,
was
the
large.
deal is,
Yeah.
I didn't have a model for this,
No.
but I knew that I had a cardinal, somebody who looked like a cardinal.
Sure,
not
okay.
an actual cardinal.
Right, I was
Somebody
gonna
who
say.
looked like a cardinal from the Roman Catholic Church.
Nice.
You know,
Mhm.
and of the right age, and so I dressed him in the red robes, and I don't know how much of this did we have planned out. Shawna,
I
need
was
you
there.
for a shot?
I was there for another shot, but that was an idea you had, and you brought me into it afterwards.
Oh my God, is that
So-
right? So that's an example.
Yeah.
This is a crazy shot that I will make sure that you get a copy of. But realize we did that on the fly.
Okay.
That wasn't planned. And it looks like you had an art director and an ad agency and a room full of people putting that shot together. And a stylist. We did it all in a matter of minutes.
No
Mhm.
kidding.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we do.
So
I'm here 45 minutes max.
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
shoots get shorter all the time.
Well, I would imagine. Okay. So, well,
I could get the shot. Now, I was shooting a girl. I don't know if I told you this, but I was shooting this girl. I told Shawna. Did I tell you about this girl that I had?
Probably.
One of the most beautiful girls. One of the sexiest girls. When this girl does sexy, the golf ball just flies down the fairway. I mean, people are just gawking.
yeah. Well, let me ask you, what makes that so sexy?
What happened though is that she was so lively.
Yeah.
So funny that I ended up having to explain to her that the reason that I shot that so many times is that I needed to shoot 50 or 60 shots of that to get that with you. But Shawna, I actually said this to her, and she knows of Shawna. I said, Shawna could come in, and honestly, I can get that in one shot or two shots.
Wow, really?
One or two frames.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll get it on the first frame. And we keep shooting just for the hell of it.
Really?
We've got the shot.
Amazing.
But it's a lot of it is just rapport and understanding how your energy works together. And you kind of got to be on the same vibe. But with this other girl, it was a challenge to get the shot, no matter how much shooting I did. She's very beautiful, very sexy.
So it's not the
we're
beauty.
looking for more than just beautiful and sexy.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, you know who I shoot. All the girls are beautiful.
Yep.
They're all beautiful.
Yep.
So I'm not really looking for a set of cheekbones. I'm looking for somebody who can come in here and really understand what we're doing and fit into the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is that Shawna fits into the equation so well, it blows my mind.
It's just acting.
Well, has it been that way with other photographers for you? Is it just natural for you, or
For me personally, it's always been acting.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be an actress.
Yeah.
With the shyness of having to speak on camera. So I look at modeling as just an emotion. So
Okay.
I get an emotion, and then I'm just exercising concentration until I just project what he wants.
yeah, that's great. Like the fact that you get those in the first shot is
Well, you
it
know,
blows my mind, honestly.
what we do, all of our girls look confident.
Right.
If you can't look confident in front of my camera, our stuff's not going to work. If you look tentative, if you look like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know if this is the right look.
Yeah, that never comes up on
You
your
tell
work.
me what to do,
Ooh,
that's never going to
no.
work.
Okay.
But
It's a
Shawna can
skill.
go immediately, and sometimes I am amazed at, I've never told her this, but I'm amazed at how confident, self-assured, on the ball, on top of it. I have this by the tail, look, that she can do right now.
Really?
And
Just
there's no ramp up to it.
What?
She just does it.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind.
Do you
in a way.
practice?
No.
And sometimes I will see her do it. In fact, I think Raven heard it the other day. I was shooting Shawna, and Raven said, I heard that. And I heard what? And she goes, I heard you giggle.
Oh,
And
I
I thought,
remember
I'm
the
giggling
giggle.
to myself. How
Yeah.
did you hear that?
Yeah. But she knows.
But
that-
she'll do that, and it will make me giggle because I'm just so happy with it.
yeah. But
That doesn't get better.
that, because I always try to make the comparison. You and I did this when we talked before about the comparison between music and photography. It's not photography that you do. There really is an art to what you're shooting. And so I didn't even mean to diminish the artistry and what you're saying, what you do by just calling you a photographer. I know that you build relationships with people here. Has there ever been a situation where the relationship just didn't click, even if they're a beautiful model or a wonderful model, but you think, you know what? I just got to cut this off because the relationship, the spark isn't there. I don't know that I can get the shot.
It's actually happened a couple of times.
Okay.
It's happened a couple of times. But the one time that is, for me, how many years ago was that? Maybe 15 years ago. I still carry this around. It's a monkey on my
I'll bet, yeah.
There was a girl that I had kind of fallen in love with on the internet. She was a huge web model, traveling, touring model. Actually wrote the book. And I don't want to call her out.
Sure.
Okay?
No names. Yeah.
She wrote the book. And she's selling the book by the millions. So I had found her on Model Mayhem when Model Mayhem was the networking beast at that moment. And we scheduled a time for us to shoot together.
Okay.
And the months came by. And before I knew it, it was her day to arrive. Elevator door opens. She walks in, kind of walks by me, goes in, gets started on her makeup. I'm shooting her for about a half day, kind of a half day shoot. And at no point during this entire shoot was there any kind of connection.
Really?
Any kind of even I see you kind of thing.
Really?
And at the end of the shoot, she's going into the elevator. She's looking at me. The elevator door closes. And I'd be, God, we just didn't have a single moment of connection. And it really kind of reminded me how important that is.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's a part of you that wants to have, at least a human-to-human connection.
Yeah.
That we're not cardboard boxes,
Well, that comes through in your photography.
Yeah.
When you look at the photos that you put out, there's so much character.
Well, that's because there is a connection there.
Yeah.
I mean, you honestly, and this she's a big model. She's a big money model, big time model. And I don't know to this day, I don't know what the problem was. I didn't tell you this before, but I think the problem might have been, here I was in a 10,000 square foot ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
I think she might have thought that I was supposed to be paying her.
Mm.
I haven't told you this.
No?
It's the only thing that I can put together to explain that she was so off that day.
Well, let me ask you this. If she's a big model, you've seen a lot of her work elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that look in her in other shots that she's taken from other people?
She did a good shoot with me. It wasn't like the shoot was crap.
Sure.
It was a good shoot, but it made the shoot meaningless to me because there was no interaction. It's not like it has to be boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah.
But we have to see each other. There has to be a sense of meeting another person.
Well,
that it just didn't happen. But for me, I'm lucky enough that it happens most of the time.
Sure.
That's prevailing experience is that I feel like I've gotten to know them.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten to know me. But that as an example of that it doesn't happen all the time. It's not a science.
I make the comparison
so
with music.
It makes me thankful when it does happen.
Yeah, you have to. I would imagine, and again, I parallel the music thing. If I am walking into, say, a session gig or I'm playing with a new band and sparks are flying on stage and everybody has this unspoken thing where you're looking at each other on stage, it feels so good. The crowd vibes off of it because there's so much energy between the members on stage. And you walk away from that feeling invincible. Like you feel like that was the greatest experience. Now, we've all seen concerts and you've seen bands that have been put together or bands that have been around a long time where they're mailing it in, man. It's all about the money at this point. 4 guys traveling on 4 different tour buses. They don't sleep together. They don't eat together. They don't talk to each other. Show up on stage. And when they walk away, I think it's cheap and it cheapens the experience for the audience, right? Because you can see that there's no chemistry on stage. And I don't want to hear them play that song if they're not feeling the way they do when they wrote it, right? So
or be on the stage and play that song with all your heart and have the audience just standing there like zombies.
Right, exactly.
So that's kind of what it's like. I do this thing, Shawna knows it, when we're shooting, I may shoot one shot and immediately show her that.
Okay.
This is what we've got. We're ready to go on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or this is what we've got. Bring out the champagne.
Nice.
But if I show a model the shot and I get kind of a dead look, that's a different experience.
Sure. I'll bet.
And it has nothing to do with the quality of the photograph. It's that they're kind of running it through a filter and not seeing what I'm seeing.
Sure.
But there are girls like that. And I learned real quick not to show them anymore.
That's smart. Well, are you able
needs this stuff to be edited or something,
And I think we're all our own worst critic, right? So as somebody who is on camera, on stage or whatever, the first thing you look at is yourself, right? Does my face look right? Or is is the lighting right? And so you're not looking at the composition of the shot. So that person that sees your shot and wants to change something isn't thinking about what you've got for your vision, right?
But somebody with poor self-esteem is almost the hardest person to shoot. They're like, they are their own worst critic and they're their own worst enemy. That person is hard to work with, and it's not exciting. Yeah. Shawna wants to see the shots as we go along.
I do ask, for the excitement. I want to know
shoot
what
5 or
direction.
10, and she goes, "Let me see." And I love that.
As long as she's not saying
that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, right. Do you give him pointers or like?
I never give him pointers. No, never.
Yeah.
I will never do that. No, I just want to know.
She's too smart for that.
Well, I can imagine that might face a little different experience here. So talk to me then about how things have evolved here, because we're right in the middle of a global pandemic, right? Aren't we? So the industry's changed a lot. I mean, you can do a great job about social distancing, and I know that you take a lot of care for models when they come in so that they feel safe but in terms of bringing new content to a mass audience, it's a little bit different now, right? So you're not on the runways and you're not doing live shoots or anything like that. So how are you going to bring Wildevision to the masses?
It actually falls to the photographer to create a product that you can sell. Okay. Because it's for me, it's not about shooting for Nike or shooting for, name the commercial. Columbia Sportswear,
Victoria's Secret.
That's not what it's about.
Sure.
I've been in those situations before, where we're shooting the billboard or the double page spread for Sportswear International, and Julian, here's the blueprints, and this is what we want you to shoot. I have no interest in that at all. Sure. I've done that.
Paid those dues.
I have no interest in doing that.
Sure.
The money is not an object. I just don't want to shoot somebody else's shot.
Sure.
I don't want to shoot a shot that somebody else could shoot.
You bet.
And I don't, even when girls will send me a picture of something they would like to do shot by someone else. That's a great idea, baby, but what I have to work with is different. Right. So look through our stuff. Tell me what you like of what we're doing. Sure. Because we can do that. We can nail that to the wall, But showing me something that some photographer has done somewhere else, I'm not likely to repeat that. I'm less likely to even repeat my own work. But I'm certainly not going to copy some other photographer. There may be something that I like about it, that I will work off of it, but I'm not going to copy that. Sure. There's no satisfaction for me in that at all.
Sure. That just replication, and I guess replication is the finest form of flattery. But if somebody else does your work, they try to copy, but they don't have your vision, your eye. I was thinking about collections here, right? Because you've got a variety of different sets. Oh, we've got a guest.
Well, I have to keep this interesting for myself. Yeah. I change it up for Shawna as much as anybody, but I do have to constantly evolve what you're seeing here. To the point where, I don't know if you know this, but virtually every wall in here, including like the VIP suite, that has been at least 10 different things. Really? 10 different sets. Okay. And like I said, tomorrow we're bringing in a huge four-poster mahogany bed. So that'll be even different tomorrow. Amazing. And Raven will swag it and create a fantasy over there. And models will walk in and go, where did that come from? Right. Yeah. But we are looking constantly for stuff to upgrade and to evolve the sets. Okay.
It's when you do not only a set change, but there's a thematic change too between some of the collections that I've seen of yours. So you've got the Wild Beach, right? Where so you'll do something that simulated.
That's the only other place I shoot out in the studio. Okay. It's on the beach.
Yeah.
That's the only other place.
So tell me about that process, because you don't have the sort of backdrop and decor that's so defined, right? So when you go out there, you're bringing your lights and sort of accoutrement to add to the shoot. Or?
There's a kind of look that I like. It's kind of a Sports Illustrated look. I want it to look like we're in Jamaica.
Yeah.
I don't want it to look like we're in the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
That's not a Sports Illustrated.
Rainy skies and
yeah, right, exactly. So I want it to look like we're someplace tropical.
Yeah.
And then I'll shoot it.
Okay.
And then that's my shot, But
so how do you stage something like that?
Hey, I'll tell you, this is a funny story.
Okay.
Volo magazine.
Okay.
I can talk about it because I don't like them.
Sure.
Volo magazine hit me up and wanted me to do some shooting for the magazine. And so I did some shooting in here, the way I do it. And their art director at the time, it was not Shantia Vinny, it was before Shantia Vinny, that person said, well, here you are in the great Pacific Northwest. We want you to go out and shoot, in the woods, and in the river.
Right.
And I'm going, I'm not selling Portland, Oregon.
Right.
That's not my trip.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that. Get somebody else to do that. And then he called me back again and said, no, we really want you. And I ended up having to tell him to shove off.
Yeah.
In a polite way. Actually, I wasn't polite. But I did tell him to shove off. Because I'm not interested in doing that. Anybody can do that. Just pick up the phone,
right,
and get a photographer to go out and shoot a girl in the woods. That's my shot.
Having your vision in the woods would certainly be different than anybody else out there. Anybody can go and shoot in the woods, but I could imagine something very opulent, in the woods, draped moss, so as far as like the sets go, right? So I'm thinking about
my favorite memory of this place was on about the second or third day after I signed the lease. And I signed a 1-year lease. I thought in 1 year, I'll be done with the place.
Okay.
I'll be tired of it. I'll be ready to scrape the walls down and move on. So on that day, Shawna, were you here?
I think I was. I
Do you
remember
remember
the story.
me telling about what was going to happen over here?
You always tell me what's going to happen.
Okay, well, you have to imagine we're in an empty warehouse.
Right.
We're an empty warehouse. I've got a pile of stuff over there kind of up against the drywall.
Okay.
I've got a pile of stuff up against the wall here, and down there I've got a more pile of stuff. and I'm telling the girls that this is going to be Paris. This is going to be Paris. And over here will be this magical doorway, this portal into some fantasy realm that you can't even imagine. And I'm looking at the girls, and they're looking at me like,
you're crazy,
Has he really lost it? Because they were not seeing it.
When you say
I
this,
saw this.
You can picture it in your mind.
In my second
first
day here, I saw this. But that used to be Rome over there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So now it's not Rome.
I remember Rome.
It was Rome, and I shot Rome enough that I could let Rome go.
Okay.
That was old Rome.
Yeah. No.
I have a little bit of old Rome over here. See, that's what that is. That's my new.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's new Rome.
I didn't even notice the shoes over there. I recognize a few of those shoes.
Those are 8s and 9s for sure.
The funny thing is, whenever Julian posts a photo, the first thing I comment on is the shoes, and he's like,
"Everybody does."
Really? Okay, I thought it was special.
Well,
yeah. No, the shoes are a big deal. Costumes are a huge deal, right? So I know this may sound silly, but since you're spontaneous and there's nothing planned, and you get here and you say, "All right, let's shoot." How do you decide on what costumes to wear? What outfits to wear? How does that?
Whatever's closest.
You just walk over and grab it, and
that's where the collaboration comes in.
Okay.
Because although I do shoot from time to time without Raven, 90% of my shoots are with Raven.
Okay.
I always prefer to shoot with her because she's such an amazing stylist. I mean, the rings and the jewelry and the shoes,
sure,
everything that she brings to the set, she understands me well enough to know that, I think I know what you're looking for, and she will dress them all.
But that's
she knows
beautiful.
the models too.
Sure.
She knows the models too.
And she knows all the models, shoe sizes, and, everything that she would need to know, she knows.
So the stylist relationship with the model is almost as important then as the photographer?
Yeah.
All right.
We recently had someone in, I don't want to call him out, but a photographer from out of state.
Okay.
I mean, half a country away, out of state. Brought in some models from out of town and spent a lot of money renting this place for a couple of days. But my first thought was, photo stylists really help you out.
Okay.
Because you can't even when the sets are designed, you can't just throw a model on it.
Sure.
You know, that just doesn't work that way. What was I talking about?
Well, hey, yeah,
You tell me,
yeah.
and then I'll take it from there.
Well, you were talking first, actually backing up to your favorite experience.
Stylist.
You brought so this person that came in here. I think I talked about the costumes and about the relationship between the stylist and the model being such an important thing, because when you look at these photos, you would never know that, number one, you're not in a castle, and number two, that you didn't have a whole team, an assemblage of hair and makeup and wardrobe.
You can pull off this. I was talking to my mom the other day, and I said, you can pull off this gig. What I'm doing, I'm talking to my mom now.
I was talking to your mom too.
I was
about
talking to my mom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you what I told my mom.
Okay.
I said, Mom, you can do this if you have the talents that I bring to the party. If you don't have the architectural, if you don't have the interior design interest, if you don't have the ability to talk to the models, if you don't have a good eye, if you don't have a feeling for interior design, you're never going to be able to pull this off. So not a lot of people do this.
Yeah.
You kind of have to have all those things kind of swirling together. And if not, this is an impossible gig to do.
Sure.
I just happen to be lucky enough to have the wherewithal that I can juggle those things and make things happen.
It's a lot of
hats
I
wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Well, a lot of people couldn't pull that off. You're right. I think, if you've got a vision in mind and you already know the capability that a room might have.
Right. And we keep evolving it.
Yeah.
That's the other important part, is that we keep painting it, we keep evolving it, and we keep tweaking it. And I have I know kind of a direction that it's going in, so that when Shawna comes over the next time, it will be different. We won't be shooting the same thing, even though I like to shoot Shawna about every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and sometimes it can go as long as a month, and that's not right.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
We're neighbors.
Well,
well, Shawna lives about 5 minutes away, so it's not too hard to get her here.
Yeah, that's convenient.
There comes a fine point of, do I want to bring her? I don't want to overwork her.
Sure.
Well, so you kind of have to respect that.
And if you want to keep it spontaneous, and the interesting thing is, I think the last time you and I talked, you thrive on the idea of being a control freak, right? That was something that you pride yourself on.
I think that's been said.
Yeah. Yeah. But
to do what I do, you have to be.
Absolutely.
You can't be lackadaisical.
Not at all.
This,
yeah, and
or it won't happen.
Nothing timid. You talked about models coming in, if they have any sort of timidity and sort of tentative vibe at all, it just wouldn't work. There's nothing timid about what you do either. So the confidence, the control, and everything you do to present what you do is really, I think, it's next level. I don't think that there are too many photographers in the world that can pull off wearing as many hats as you do. You've sort of evolved Wildevision a little bit more too. So you want to talk to me about the next level then?
Yeah, you want to talk about that.
I do.
That is the exciting stuff.
It is.
I'll talk a little bit about it.
Okay. Is there a non-disclosure that we have to?
I had a business 8 years ago. I was hosting parties, throwing pretty good sized parties. A lot of Hollywood stuff, some pretty big name stuff, and some big dollar stuff. And I had my own catering company. We did the bar. We had an in-house DJ. It was just all just dialed in.
Sure.
And it just got to the point, I did that for about 17 years, and I'd thrown about 1,700 parties. You basically throw about 100 parties a year.
Wow.
And it just got to the point where I thought, and I was paying $15,000 in rent, and I thought, you know what? I could do this in a warehouse. I could take just a dry bones warehouse and build what I've kind of built in this ballroom.
Wow.
Actually, Raven told me that. I said, honey, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Once again.
I think I know that ballroom.
So we found a 5,000 square foot warehouse, empty warehouse, and just started, for the simple reason that I had gotten bored with the other thing, and I really wanted to get back to photography. So imagine that I took about 20 years off of photography. I was still shooting.
Yeah.
But I wasn't shooting professional.
Okay.
I was shooting amateur for 20 years.
When you say amateur.
For the fun of it.
Okay, so that's the difference.
So I wanted to get back to putting together something that I didn't see out there. I wanted to put together the kind of shots that I want to see and package them in a way that a larger audience could enjoy them.
You bet.
And so I did put together 18 different collections.
Okay.
Ranging from, you probably know some of them, but ranging from, say, Wildevision, which you mentioned,
Yep.
to, I'm not going to say them all because it lets too much of the cat out of the bag.
Sure.
But I do things like, for example, one collection is the Principles of Beauty. There's not a lot of photographers that shoot boudoir that can also shoot the Principles of Beauty, and can also do a collection called The Fine Art of Fantasy. And it just allowed me kind of the excuse to do what I want to do and what I can do, and package it in a way that we can market it to a much bigger audience.
You bet.
So that's where we are right now. And we brought on a media producer a couple of weeks ago. We have some fine-tuning to do with the press kit, which you saw.
Yep.
And then we're ready to game on.
I love it.
We're real close to that. But I don't want to talk about it too much. But I have created a product that I can kind of really do what I do. And that's exciting. As an artist,
it's exciting to read about.
It's more fun than doing what you can do.
And I think that expands your audience so much more. What I loved about the press kit is that you really identified what beauty means to you, and I think it's it's a sort of an objective thing that subjective, that people they view beauty in a different way, but you leave that interpretation up to the people that observe your photography. And one thing I loved about, and I was just going to say, you talk about the escape, right? Getting lost in the photography, kind of. That's what I loved, is that right now people want to be able to have a distraction. That's the whole idea behind All Access Live, is that there are external forces that are chaotic and tough in the world, and I want people to just be able to hide for a little bit, forget about all the external stuff, and just think about something beautiful, right? So that's what I see in your work, and I got that out of your press kit a little bit. One thing that I love about Wildevision is that you walk through the door and the rest of the world sort of disappears. So we can let go of any chaos and negativity and really just be focused on the moment, the positivity. It may not even be just the shoot, but it might be just the experience you have in here, right? So I think it's a really special thing that people get to come behind the scenes. For me, with All Access Live, that opportunity for me is to bring people backstage. What I've always done on tour is to take my camera back, show people, here's what the drum kit looks like at the Greek Theater, right? And here's what the green room looks like, and backstage food. This is kind of the behind the scenes, because you're standing behind the camera most of the time. We don't get to see who Julian Wilde is, right? And we don't get to see the real Shawna Colton. We just get to see the post Shawna Colton, who's there in the finished shot. But they get to, from here, people can see this interaction. They can see personality, right? And so you shoot personality. I can see you get that. But how do you feel like you want people to perceive what Wildevision's all about? What is you've got a brand established with your look, but if you were saying, hey, Vogue magazine, if you're going to do a piece on Wildevision, this is what I want the bent to be.
Wow. For me, it's always been about the work.
Okay.
It's always been about the work. There are people that, this is my life. This is not my photography. It's my life.
Sure.
But I'm so connected to it that, you know what I'm saying. Shawna knows what I'm saying.
I interpret what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's all.
What I mean by that is that I like it. I like the pictures to tell the story.
Okay.
And that's why my pictures perhaps may tell a story, because it's important to me that they tell the story. So I don't really have, to my own mind, a story beyond the pictures.
So that's
if that
what
makes any sense.
Absolutely. So
Vogue, it would be like if you're a musician and you write your life into your songs. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the reality. If you want to know about me, listen to my songs.
Yeah.
If you want to know about me, look at the photographs, because that's what's happening in here all the time. It never stops. It's 24/7. The photographs are just the evidence of where I've been in my mind.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, that's why it was important that if we were to do this, we would be able to add some photographs to it, because otherwise it's just a guy talking.
Yeah. Well, not just a guy. When I talk to other people in the industry, you're known for character, right? You really, I mean, really, not just the type of character that you are, but the character that you bring out of people, right? So, and that character, yeah. No, I think, nobody's ever said that Julian's boring, right?
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, no. So you've got all these characteristics, anyway, that control freak, admittedly,
Yep.
but that you develop and build character. And I love the idea that Vogue does a piece on you. It's all photos.
Yeah, if they want to do a piece where I'm just talking, I'm not interested. I'll
Sure.
pass.
Yeah.
Because that's not what it's. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Can I ask you?
We'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, I think photos are going to be great. But what do you think about timelessness? You know, I mean, the photos that you take are timeless.
You know, you're quick. I think you're onto it. I work on the brand, if you will, or the style. I want it to be something like, for example, don't shoot a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
I don't shoot as the different kinds of footwear comes and goes.
Sure.
And that's an 80s look or that's a 90s look. I actually do a look that has a broader band, than that's the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2020s.
Sure.
I'm not interested in the 2020s.
Yeah. I don't think anybody is.
That good of a year,
Right. Yeah.
So I put together a look that is kind of, in a sense, it's not beyond time, but it's a bigger it's a bigger umbrella.
Sure.
And it's kind of a classic. There's not a lot of trends in what I do.
Right.
There's not a lot of gimmicks. And that's just what works for me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I have something that I hope will be interesting for people over time.
Sure.
And not just looking back at, hey, a lot of photographers are shooting people in masks.
Right.
I don't shoot Valentine shots. I don't shoot Christmas shots.
Sure.
Because that's all it is. It's just a Christmas shot.
Sure.
I like to shoot a shot that is bigger than Christmas, that is bigger than Valentine's Day, that is bigger than COVID-19.
Yeah.
Because that will come and go too.
Absolutely.
And I don't even want any pictures that go, that was during COVID.
Yeah.
But believe me, we've had a good year.
Yeah.
I got to be honest.
Well, that's
with
because
you.
it's because you can
We've
escape.
had a good year.
You're able to escape. That is.
We have just kind of quarantined ourselves and been able to just do what we do.
Yeah.
And it hasn't rained on our parade too much. I don't mind saying that. I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that's perspective too.
I also feel really blessed to be able to do that. And if I were to just stop and let COVID just stop me, that's not me.
Sure.
That's for somebody else.
Yeah. Shawna Colton. All right. Now that Julian's gone, let me ask you the real questions about. You've worked with a lot of different photographers. So tell me about the difference between working with Julian and, say, a photographer that didn't have the vision. Is it more work?
It's actually less work with Julian.
Okay.
He makes it incredibly easy. It's easy just to read off of him. It's almost like it's easy to read his mind. He's very passionate.
Sure.
Where a lot of photographers are just there to just almost make the model do more of the work and just click the button. Julian sets up everything and makes it incredibly easy, which is why I want to keep, I guess, coming back and working with him.
Sure.
But most photographers, honestly, can't even compare the two.
Okay. How many photographers would you say you've worked with over your lifetime?
A couple hundred.
Okay.
Easily.
Yeah, that's, I would think. I've seen a lot of work that you've posted from other photographers too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the timelessness. I don't see the elegance in a lot of the work. Julian can take something that looks so opulent and make it look incredible, but you have a wide range of looks too,
Mm-hmm.
So when you show up here and you do everything spontaneous, do you feel like another person can come in here that has amazing equipment and amazing experience and be able to maybe learn something from Julian as sort of a an understudy, if you will?
I sure hope they could learn something.
Yeah.
There's only one Julian, though.
He talked a little bit about somebody saying they were willing to learn, but the artistry, right? There's an eye. There's something about, like, you can't learn to paint like Rembrandt, right? I mean, it's just something that if there's a given talent that somebody is sort of born with. You feel the same way about modeling? Is that something that you can teach, or is there a confidence in it?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, I definitely don't think it's something you can teach. It's definitely something you're born with. I'm the most incredibly shy person in the world until I'm in front of a camera.
Sure.
Like Julian's. Anybody can be incredibly gorgeous, but it's acting. You need to be able to be more than just, beautiful body, beautiful face. There's so many more angles to it.
Sure.
Literally,
and figuratively,
Literally, yeah. You have to be able to act and pull and pretend, and it has to show in your face. I see so many beautiful women every single day who just have the body, don't have the face.
Sure, yeah. And the personality certainly shows through, So I love the chemistry that you guys have developed, through that work. It seems like you're an extension of Wildevision, which is pretty cool. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for being here.